Welcome back to the preview show. I'm Casey Campbell, and that's Mitchell Brewer from News from the Pits and Black Cat Sports. See you talking to Allie Decker this week. That was cool. That was awesome. So we'll get to that in a minute. Of course, if you haven't heard, I'm checking. Check my YouTube channel. I got to talk to a lot of cool people this week. Look out for the Matt DiBenedetto interview. That's up. And we just talked to Tate Fogelman from Young's Motorsports. So pretty cool there. But Mitchell, we're into the last two races of the season. The season is flying by. But last week at Kansas, it was a bit of an interesting one. Kyle Larson won the race. Most of us expected that. And I'm on quite a bit of a roll right now. I've picked 3 straight winners in a row and got both the Xfinity and Cup series correctly last week, just so you know. I'm doing pretty good right now. So
I think I'm the exact opposite as far as predictions go.
That's been the trend for the last few weeks, and I'm just on a roll, man. We all picked Ty Gibbs for the ARCA race, but that was interesting. And we'll get to ARCA in a moment. They're about to have a big announcement pretty soon. But going into Kansas, we said goodbye to the 550 package with this Gen 6 car. But overall, what are your takeaways from this from last weekend at Kansas?
I mean, it feels like it's Kyle Larson's world and we're just living in it right now. It's crazy that he's won 3 races in a row. And there's people out there saying this guy can go ahead and win 5 races in a row, which, I mean, I think any other situation we'd probably be saying 5 races in a row. That sounds ridiculous. But with how good week in, week out Kyle Larson is, even if the entire car falls apart like it did at the Roval, he's still the guy to beat. And it's just Kyle Larson's world right now. And it's kind of crazy because it's just like, can anybody stop him? And I mean, we've got 2 very different tracks coming up with Martinsville and Phoenix. Does that streak of momentum stop, or like it's just like who's going to stop this guy right now?
Yeah, since actually before the Roval, I got a chance to talk go one-on-one with Kyle Larson, and that was pretty cool. So it was good to talk with him there. Since we talked to him, he's won ever since. So last week we had Cliff Daniels, the crew chief of the 5, on last week. So that was pretty cool as well. By the way, thanks John Edwards for helping me set that up from PR person for Hendrick Motorsports. So let's talk about this 5 team for a second. We haven't, when we came into the season, we didn't expect Kyle Larson would do much, but also we didn't really expect Hendrick Motorsports to be as dominant as they have been this season. 9 wins on the year, and what a dream season for Kyle Larson.
For real. I'm completely with you, Casey. I had him not winning a single race this season. Yeah. I thought it would be kind of a quiet year for Kyle Larson. And I know everybody kind of laughs at people that say, oh, Kyle Larson's not going to be that good this season. But I mean, really, you looked into it. Aside from Chase Elliott last season, who I don't even think it's that far fetched to say he didn't even have like the best season of anybody in the sport last year. I mean, he obviously won the championship, but like besides him, Hendrick Motorsports wasn't being talked about. And all season long, it's been kind of like, okay, here is Hendrick Motorsports. They're back. Is it gonna die out? But it hasn't. And that 5 team has just consistently been great every single weekend, it seems like. And I don't think the 9 team's that far behind them either.
Well, the 5 team and the 9 team had some good runs. But there's a lot of drivers that did not have good runs. I'm talking about the Team Penske cars for sure. They're not that far off in the in the playoff grid, as I'm about to pull it up here in a second. Really, I think even Logano isn't that far off. So if either of them have a good day, they could come back and win this. And you know how crazy this Martinsville race gets for the Cup guys, and who knows what could happen in these playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at last week, and it's kind of the race was kind of a tale of 2 stories for especially Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski. Because late in that race, Ryan Blaney had a pretty secure spot into that championship for pending another winner, where I think he was up at least like 20 some points or something like that. He hits the wall, he done for the day, and all of a sudden it shakes up this entire thing. And then you have somebody like a Brad Keselowski who didn't really have a great day at Kansas, but somehow, some way, he's sneaking right back into that picture, just as he's done all season. I think me, you, and Jonathan all had him out after the round of 16, if not the round of 12. Yep. And he's still here, and he's still got a fighting chance. That guy just doesn't want to die. And Martinsville's a track where Brad Keselowski's very good at. So it's just like, it's just a wild card with those Penske cars. And then you got Martin Truex Jr. in there too, it's Martinsville. He's been that good at that track. It's going to be chaos this weekend trying to figure out who's going to get that final spot.
Yeah. And it feels like, he's also moving teams next year. So typically when drivers do that, they don't tend to do well. And again, once it's Team Penske, of course, they don't care about that. They want to go out and win a championship. And there's nothing that Brad would want to do to end his Team Penske career to, go out as a champion. But let's take a look. We look at, you look at the playoff standings so far, it's really going to come down to, guys trying to get there. Of course, we know Larson's in. Chase Elliott is in. He's 34 to the good. Denny Hamlin is 32 to the good. And Kyle Busch is +1. Then you look at guys like Blaney is 1 to the bad. Truex is 3 back. Keselowski is 6 back. And Logano's 26 back. These guys all, as I said earlier, these guys all have a legit shot to win it.
Absolutely. And then what happens if Denny Hamlin or Chase Elliott goes and has a bad, what happens if they wreck on lap 10, which sounds crazy to say, but these playoffs haven't been kind to these playoff drivers. Also, they could be put in a hole because like you said, Casey, all of these guys could go out and win. And if they don't win, I think those guys below the cutoff are going to be running right up towards the front as well, because this is a track that really screams. Those are the guys that you're going to look at. Kyle Larson obviously has been the dude all season, but this Martinsville track has favored all of those guys we just listed off. And I think it's going to just be crazy to see who's going to get in there and what it's going to take to get in there.
Well, Mitchell, the Cup Series is not the only series that's going to determine their championship for this weekend. We still have 2 other series that still have to do the same. We'll talk about Xfinity, then we'll talk about trucks. Yes, the trucks are back. It's been a while since they've been back, but they're back. Let's go to Xfinity. Austin Cindric, AJ Allmendinger, they are tied +47 right now in there. Justin Allgaier is 9 above the cut line. And Daniel Hemrick, somehow who just cannot find a way to get a win, is 7 above the cut line. The rest of the round of 8 drivers, Justin Haley is 7 back. And then you have the guys that need to win, pretty much need to win, or at least have a pretty good day to get in. Gregson at -24. And then if you're Brandon Jones or you're Harrison Burton, you got to win. Fortunately enough for Harrison Burton, he won there last year. So out of the Xfinity guys, where do you see them? Who has to have? Obviously, we know Brandon Jones and Harrison Burton got to have good days, but how do you see this playing out?
At this point, you got 2 guys in Harrison Burton and Noah Gragson who are bad enough at how last week ended for them. Absolutely. And they pretty much have to win. And neither one of those guys are very I think they're going to be willing to do whatever it takes to get in. And you got a guy like Justin Haley. He's not safe. Daniel Hemrick, who you mentioned, just is so close to winning, but yeah, he's also so close to being eliminated from these playoffs. And it's just you almost got to just worry for Daniel Hemrick, where he could even have an average day and still be eliminated. And honestly, it would kind of fit his season where it's been so close, but right as soon as he's getting towards that checkered flag line, they pull it back and he can't get it done. And it's just can he get it done? What a statement win it would be if he could get the job done this weekend at Martinsville. But we've seen the Xfinity series and it's been crazy all season. And I think this could be even crazier than the Cup race.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be crazy. But let's talk about trucks for a minute, and then we'll discuss some of the news that happened this week, including a bunch of stories that are just breaking, or the some ones that are about to break. Um, uh, Jonathan, yeah, Mitchell. So the truck series is back. I'm not sure if you knew that, but it's been a while since we've seen our good friends from the truck series. Um, so John Hunter Nemechek is 36 above the cut line. Ben Rhodes 35 above the cut line. You got to think that those two guys are safe, but we've seen crazier things happen. Matt Crafton's 10 above. Sheldon Creed is 5 above the cut line. And then Stuart Friesen 5 below the cut line. He can get in a little bit, but when you get down there, you look at Chandler Smith, who's 34 below, Carson Hocevar, who's 37 below, and then Zane Smith, who's 40 below. Guys, those three, I think, are going to have to get a win. And Chandler, of course, was in a must-win situation, and then he goes out and gets it done. And, we've seen good runs out of Carson. We haven't seen good runs out of Zane, though. Jonathan Fiel actually pointed the stat out to me. He only has one top 5 finish this season. Now I think he's got like 7. He's got plenty of top 10s, but only one top 5 finishes. Best finish was 4th at Nashville earlier this season. Not the season that Zane Smith had last year when he got those couple of wins at Dover and Michigan last year. But what happens next? I mean, what are these guys going to do? How do you see this playing out?
It's another one where it's going to be, and you could take a drink every time I say it, it's going to be a crazy race. It's just, you're going to have these guys that we've seen it, especially in the truck series, which has had criticism for having so much aggressive racing. I don't think that's going to change this weekend, especially when you got guys that are going to do whatever it takes to get into that championship four. I think the guy you got to really watch, though, is Sheldon Creed. He's very close to that cutoff, but he's been strong throughout these playoffs. I think he's going to have a really good day, and maybe he'll do enough to get himself locked into the Final Four. It's going to be interesting. It's another situation where it's kind of like, is anybody going to be a threat to John Hunter Nemechek, who's been the Larson of this series and just been so competitive and so good? There's a lot of storylines to watch there in that truck series, especially if we get a late restart like we did at Bristol. Oh boy, it's going to get interesting.
It's going to get really interesting. Before we get into the news this week, let's talk about something. Actually, I was talking to a lot of the truck guys like Todd Gillen. He's still in this fight. He's still in the Owners' Championship. So expect that 38 truck to be running really well. I think he's only had like one finish outside of the top 10 this year. So, really, really good, consistent run from Todd early on this year. And then talking to Carson Hocevar, knowing that, he's got to find a way to get in. One of the most interesting personalities out there in the truck series by far. He's going to be looking in there. But I want to get to this point in a minute. And this is, I'm actually, have watched NASCAR race up. I've seen all the other shows and guys talking about this. Playoff drivers versus non-playoff drivers. That conversation's been talking about a lot. And obviously we've seen that a lot happen, especially in the last few weeks. A lot of the times we've seen in the Cup Series, we saw in the Xfinity Series last week, with the incident between Harrison Burton, Noah Gragson, and Sam Mayer. But what is your take on all that, and how do you think that's all gonna play out? What do you think about that?
It's fascinating topic, Casey. It really is. And it's something that I kind of went back and forth where it's like, these guys are battling for a championship. You got to give them some respect. But then you look at it from an outsider's perspective where it's just like, these are people like Sam Mayer, for example. He's trying to make a name for himself. He's had not a great year in Xfinity, which it's not all his fault. There's been a lot of bad luck. He wants to go and show, hey, I can go win in this car too. Josh Berry's not the only guy that can win in this number 8. I can do that too. These guys need to make a point, and it's interesting to me because it seems like last year at Phoenix, it seemed like everybody was talking about how the championship 4 in the Cup Series dominated the race, and it seemed like people were just rolling over and letting people pass them, and people were mad about it. Now this year, it's why are these guys that aren't in the championship battle fighting them so hard when they're when they're not in the championship battle. It's like, I feel bad for these poor guys that are in the non-championship battle because they can't do anything right. In my opinion, they're out there running a race, and some of these guys, a lot of these guys, don't have secure anything for next season. They gotta go and show, hey, I belong here. And to that, I gotta say, you just gotta deal with them. You've fought your way this far to be in the championship fight. They shouldn't have to roll over for you. You've dealt with them all season. Deal with them another 2 races.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's get to some of the news this week. It looks like we're hearing from a little bit of non-NASCAR news, but Junior Motorsports announced this week that Carson Kvapil will be driving in the late model program. That's going to be pretty cool. Joining Junior Motorsports' late model program. A lot of drivers have came through that program and have won. Guys like Josh Berry, Christian Eckes was in that program. Sam Mayer was in that program as well. Just the list goes on and on. Anthony Alfredo. The list goes on and on and on. So lots of good news there, and a lot of news actually happened today. Stuart Friesen now, of course, told MRN he's going to be back for next year in the 52 truck. But and then this news just actually literally broke today. Ryan Sieg announced that CMR Roofing will be on his car for the rest of for all of 2022, and it looks like they're going to get a technical alliance from Stuart Haas, so that's good and a step up for that program. Of course, they switched to Ford this season, and they're also going to be running multiple cars again. So how about that, Ryan Sieg Racing? I know they've had a disastrous year this year, but this is another big step in the right direction for that team.
Absolutely, and we've seen where Ryan Sieg, where if he's given the opportunity, he's been able to make the most of it. Last year, he looked like a guy that could possibly win the championship. And I think we all kind of thought, okay, that's going to continue this year. And then when the struggles happened, it was a surprise. And we really haven't talked much about Ryan Sieg. I got to give props to him for trying to make his team better and better. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can get better, especially since we really don't know what Ford is going to look like in the Xfinity series next season, where we don't really know if Penske's coming back. It sounds like Riley Herbst is coming back. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. Who knows what's going on at Storehouse? Maybe there's that all-star part-time card that's been heavily rumored. But as far as that, it's just like you kind of got to look at Ford. And I know maybe it's not the biggest worry for them, but there's got to be something in these lower series to have for going forward. You can't just rely on stealing prospects from other guys. And I do think it's something to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer to next season.
Okay, this actually literally just broke right now. I'm going to interrupt you for that. The ARCA Menard series schedule has just actually been released. So I'm going to take you through all that, and we're going to talk more about this tomorrow with Charlie Krall, the PR director for the ARCA Menard series. I want to get your reaction on this, Mitchell, as well. This is a 2-part schedule. Of course, not a lot of changes are affected. Maybe some dates within changing that, but let's see. Here we go. Daytona is going to start it off on February 19th. Phoenix Raceway will be on March 11th. Talladega, April 23rd. May 14th will be at Kansas. Then on May 28th will be the Charlotte Motor Speedway. On June 11th, they will be at Iowa Speedway. June 18th, Berlin Raceway. So they'll be at Berlin, of course, in June. June 25th, Elko Speedway. Of course, the pride of Minnesota, don't you know? July 8th, they will be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So, of course, they'll be joining with the Truck Series. July 22nd, they will be at Pocono Raceway. Good stuff there. July 29th, the new one, Lucas Oil Raceway, will be back on the schedule for that. Of course, as many people like to call it, IRP. August 6th, Michigan International Speedway. Of course, that will be always a good show there. Mostly my home track, kind of. Watkins Glen on August 19th, and then they'll turn it around 2 days later. The Illinois State Fairgrounds, of course, that on the weekend like we did this year with Michigan. Now they're going to do it with Watkins Glen. So 2 races in 3 days. Something new there. August 28th, they'll be at the Milwaukee Mile. September 4th, Labor Day weekend, will be at DuQuoin. September 10th, they will be at Kansas. Remember, Kansas moves up in there with the playoff races from October to September. September 15th, they will be at Bristol Motor Speedway. October 1st, Salem Speedway, of course, that fall traditional date. And the championship race, October 8th. I'm excited about this one. Toledo Speedway will be hosting the championship again. First time, I think, since 2011. They will be there on October 8th. And I'm really, really, really excited about that. Of course, the only track that will not be returning to the schedule will be Winchester. Of course, that replaces there. Only one change. That not many expected changes, but overall, 20 races at 19 different tracks. That's a pretty good diverse schedule because you got dirt, you got the super speedways, you got the short tracks. It's gonna be quite the show.
I absolutely agree. Hearing that schedule, I don't have it in front of me, but that sounds like a really good schedule. I really liked Winchester, so it's unfortunate to see that race go off. But I think for a lot of people that have really missed that old school ARCA style, I think you're really getting that with this schedule. You're getting some of the NASCAR tracks, but you're getting a lot of diversity in that middle part of the schedule. Love to see Iowa coming back again. Great facility. I had the chance to go there this year. I'm excited. Hopefully go back. Obviously, I'm pumped about Elko just because I love seeing the Minnesota audience represented in all of that. But really, I really like that schedule, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by how good ARC is going to be next year. I know everybody's kind of gotten sick of watching Ty Gibbs be Ty Gibbs, but I mean, that's just Ty Gibbs. He's probably going to do that in Xfinity next season. Is that going to make the Xfinity series bad? Probably not. I think that's just Ty Gibbs. You got to appreciate the greatness while it's around. And yeah, I'm really excited for that ARCA schedule. I got goosebumps, Casey. I'm excited for it. That sounds like a great schedule.
I'm more excited about having the championship at Toledo, but that's just me. We'll have more on this tomorrow. The ARCA Menard Series PR director Charlie Krull will be joining me to talk about that tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Also, there will be another ARCA related announcement tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Not series, more of a driver announcement, but that will, we won't say who it is. Well, you'll just have to find out tomorrow. But you know what you are going to find out tonight is our picks. It's time for the picks once again for trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. And by the way, no ARCA race this weekend. You see that entry list next week, Mitchell? 36 cars for the ARCA West race at Phoenix. My goodness, I haven't seen that many cars in an ARCA race in a long, long time. So I know a massive entry list for that one, and that championship is going to be I don't even know. I mean, your guess is about as good as mine. So
fun,
quite a bit there, but it's definitely going to be interesting there. All right, let's talk trucks. It's time to make some picks. You go first, buddy.
I'll take Sheldon Creed for the truck series. I think he'll have a really strong day that gets him into the next round and shows, hey, I'm going for that second championship, John Hunter Nemechek or not.
I'm going to take somebody out of the playoffs right now. I know that we just kind of talked about him early on in the show, but Todd Gilliland is who I'm going to go with this week. That 38 team has been so consistent this year. Of course, getting the big win at COTA earlier in the year. I think that 38 team is going to be tough to beat. Again, also another update there. Todd Gilliland does not know what his plans are for next year, but we'll have to see on that. But I think he intends to stay with Front Row and wants to stay with Front Row. So to be decided on that. We'll stay tuned for that. We'll obviously follow all the developments. Xfinity, it is time for that one at Xfinity at Martinsville. Championship 4 will be decided there. You know what I got to do? I got to stick with the Gibbs. Ty Gibbs gets it done. It's actually debuting a new sponsor this week. Smile Coin will be on his car this week. For that one. Final Xfinity race of the season for Ty Gibbs. John Hunter Nemechek will be in the car next week at Phoenix. So, of course, your 2021 ARCA Menard Series champion, Ty Gibbs. So that of course is an accomplishment in itself. That's pretty impressive to see what he's been able to do in that series. He's going to cap it off with a win, his 5th of the season. What an incredible run for this kid. Mitchell, who you got, bud?
I'm gonna bounce off of that Ty Gibbs thing. I'm not gonna pick him, but I agree. He's been so impressive, and you gotta remember he's going for the Xfinity Owner Series Championship too. And if that 54 team wins it, which there's a good chance that they will, he drove the car most of the season. He essentially carried that team to that championship by starting majority of the races for them. That's something that can't be underlooked either. That said, I'm not going to go with Ty Gibbs. I'm going to go with somebody that has been synonymous with Ty Gibbs. That number 8 car won earlier this year at Martinsville. I'm going to go with Sam Mayer. He gets a little redemption this weekend, and he gets a good end to his season. He'll win at Martinsville.
Or so be it, Yeah, I mean, of course, he's running Phoenix too. So
absolutely, but you get what I mean.
I get what you mean. Yeah, it's not been the best year for Sam Mayer this year. I know we've had Sam on plenty of times. Yeah, it's not been a good year. It's also not been a good year. It's about not a good year for that team you're wearing on your head there, the Falcons. They're on a streak right now there, though, but who knows? We'll talk about that later. The Cup Series, of course. Let's see who gets into the championship for. Who's going to victory lane there, Mitchell?
Man, I feel like it's definitely going to be one of those guys that are right next to that cutoff line. I think some feelings are going to get hurt. I think we might see some fists flying at the end of this thing. This is one that's just so tough to predict. I think I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney, though. I think he's been very quietly consistent throughout the entire season. I think he's going to make a big statement going into Phoenix, and he'll get himself into that championship 4 with a win.
Yeah. I'm going to go with somebody that, he's been pretty good here at this pretty much racetrack. I'm going to take the 19. I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. He won back in the spring, which feels like an eternity ago, but that 19 gets it done. So yeah, that's definitely going to be fun there. But anyway, that's going to do it for the preview show this week. Oh boy, we're going to have a fun weekend in Martinsville for trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Championship 4 for all 3 series will be decided. So should be an interesting weekend there. Stay tuned to this channel because tomorrow we get a chance to talk to Charlie Krall, the ARCA Menard Series PR director, about the schedule we just talked about there. Pretty good schedule. We'll get the series perspective on that tomorrow. We also have another exciting interview. Remember that ARCA announcement I teased earlier? We're going to talk to the person surrounding that announcement tomorrow as well. So stay tuned for that. All right, that's going to do it for the preview show. That's Mitchell Brewer. I'm Casey Campbell. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the races this weekend in Martinsville. We'll see you next week to preview the championship weekend at Phoenix.